Welcome back to the channel, where ordinary pocket change can turn into extraordinary money. Today's video is all about one of the most overlooked coins in American history, a coin many people still ignore or spend without a second thought. I'm talking about the Monticello 5-cent Jefferson nickel. For decades, these coins quietly circulated in millions of hands, but hidden among them are a few legendary pieces that collectors dream about owning. Some of these nickels look simple, even boring, yet their value can shock anyone who learns the truth. Let's get started. First up, the Monticello 5-cent Jefferson nickel dated 1946, a classic piece of United States coinage that continues to attract attention when it appears with a D mint mark and shows its original color in very fine circulated condition. At first glance, a Jefferson nickel may seem ordinary, something many people have held thousands of times, yet coins from the mid-20th century often hold deeper meaning because they were part of a nation rebuilding and redefining itself after a major historical turning point. The year 1946 sits just after the end of World War II, a period when the United States shifted from wartime production back to civilian life, and coins from this era quietly reflect that transition in metal. Holding a 1946 nickel is like holding a fragment of post-war America, a time filled with hope, growth, and change, when everyday objects like coins were part of a larger national story. The Jefferson nickel design itself is iconic, featuring Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, a symbol of leadership, vision, and democratic ideals that resonate strongly with collectors who appreciate history. On the reverse, Monticello stands proudly, Jefferson's historic home, representing architecture, intellect, and heritage, and in very fine condition. Much of this detail remains visible and engaging. Very fine condition means the coin has seen real circulation, yet still retains strong outlines, readable inscriptions, and balanced where that collectors find appealing and honest. The natural color of a circulated nickel adds character, showing gentle aging rather than artificial shine, which many experienced collectors value more than clean surfaces. One of the most important details on this coin is the D mint mark, indicating that it was struck at the Denver Mint, a detail that adds another layer of identity and collectability. Mint marks act like quiet signatures, telling collectors where a coin was born, and Denver minted coins from this era have their own place in collecting history. Coins from different mints can show subtle differences in strike quality and detail, making side-by-side comparisons a favorite activity among enthusiasts. The Jefferson nickel series is especially popular because it spans decades, allowing collectors to trace changes in design, metal quality, and minting techniques over time. A 1946 example stands near the beginning of the post-war nickel era, making it a meaningful starting point or highlight within a broader collection. Many collectors enjoy imagining where such a coin may have traveled, perhaps buying groceries, paying for fuel, or passing through countless hands during everyday transactions. Each small mark on the coin can be seen as a silent witness to history, moments of ordinary life now frozen in metal. Coin collecting often begins with curiosity, a simple question about why one coin looks different from another, leading to deeper research and appreciation. Studying coins teaches patience, attention to detail, and respect for craftsmanship, qualities that turn a hobby into a lifelong passion. Lighting and angle can dramatically change how a coin appears, revealing textures and surfaces that are not immediately obvious. Some collectors use magnification to appreciate fine details on Jefferson's portrait or the steps of Monticello, especially in coins that retain good definition. The idea of searching through old jars or inherited collections adds excitement, because discoveries often come from unexpected places. A 1946 nickel might sit unnoticed for years before someone finally takes a closer look and realizes its significance. Collectors often share such finds with others, sparking conversations, learning opportunities, and a sense of community. The Jefferson nickel is widely collected not just for potential value, but for its strong connection to American identity and history. Even coins that are not rare can become special when preserved well and appreciated for their story. The D mint mark connects this coin to Denver, a mint with a long history of producing coins that circulated widely across the country. Very fine condition strikes a balance between wear and detail, making the coin approachable for both new and experienced collectors. Natural circulation color adds warmth and authenticity, reminding us that this coin truly lived in the real economy. Coins like this inspire people to slow down and look closely at objects they usually overlook. They remind us that history is not only found in books and museums, but also in pockets, drawers, and collections at home. The thrill of the hunt is part of what keeps collectors engaged, always searching for that next interesting piece. A Monticello Jefferson nickel from 1946 with a D mint mark carries all of these elements within its modest size. It represents history, design, craftsmanship, and curiosity coming together in one small object. And while most examples are cherished for their story and condition, there are claims and discussions that such a coin has been associated with values reaching as high as $45,000. Next up, the Monticello 5-cent Jefferson nickel from 1974, a coin without a mint mark, showing a dark black color condition that immediately grabs attention. At first glance, a 1974 Jefferson nickel may seem like a very common coin, something that passed through countless hands during daily transactions, but coin collecting teaches us that common does not always mean unimportant, and sometimes the most familiar coins hide the most interesting details. The Jefferson nickel series itself is one of the longest-running designs in United States coinage, and by 1974 it had already become a symbol of reliability, continuity, and American everyday life. The obverse of the coin features Thomas Jefferson, a figure deeply rooted in American history, and even in darker color condition his profile remains recognizable and powerful, reminding collectors of the ideals and legacy he represents. On the reverse, Monticello stands as a symbol of intellect, architecture, and heritage, and while wear and color changes may soften some details, the structure still speaks clearly to those who know what to look for. A 1974 nickel without a mint mark indicates that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, a detail that collectors often note carefully because mint origin adds identity to a coin. Coins from the Philadelphia Mint traditionally carried no mint mark during many years, and this absence itself becomes a feature that collectors learn to recognize and appreciate. The black or darkened color condition of a coin can come from years of circulation, storage environments, or natural oxidation, and while some may overlook such coins, others find them intriguing and full of character. Natural dark toning can give a coin a mysterious appearance, making it stand out from brighter examples and encouraging closer examination. Many collectors believe that unusual color can tell a deeper story about where a coin has been and how it was treated over time. A darkened Jefferson nickel from the 1970s may have traveled through countless pockets, vending machines, and cash registers, quietly witnessing decades of everyday American life. Each mark, scratch, and color change becomes a silent record of use, turning the coin into a miniature time traveler from the past. The 1970s were a unique era in the United States, marked by cultural shifts, economic challenges, and changing lifestyles, and coins from this period are small but real connections to that time. Holding a 1974 nickel is like holding a piece of that decade, when inflation, energy concerns, and social change shaped daily life. Coin collecting is often about learning to see value beyond surface appearance, and darker coins often test that skill, asking collectors to look deeper. Some collectors specialize in toned or dark coins, appreciating the individuality that comes from natural aging rather than factory perfection. Lighting plays a huge role when examining a blackened coin, as different angles can reveal hidden details, textures, and contrasts that are not visible at first glance. Under the right light, inscriptions and design elements can suddenly come alive, even on a coin that looks very dark at rest. Collectors often enjoy comparing such coins to standard examples, noticing how time and environment create unique variations. The absence of a mint mark and the distinct color together make this 1974 Jefferson nickel an interesting discussion piece within any collection. Many people unknowingly spend coins like this every day, never realizing that collectors might pause, examine, and debate their features. That is one of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting, the idea that treasures are not always locked away, but sometimes hiding in plain sight. Searching through old jars, inherited collections, or even loose change can suddenly feel like an adventure when you know what to look for. Over time, collectors train their eyes to notice differences in color, strike, and detail, turning simple observation into a skilled habit. The Jefferson Nickel series offers endless opportunities for learning, as each year brings its own story, variations, and collector interest. A 1974 example represents the later period of the classic Monticello design, before changes and updates began to appear in later decades. Dark condition coins often spark conversations about preservation, storage, and the natural aging process of metal. Some see beauty in bright shine, others in deep tone, and both perspectives have a place in the hobby. What matters most is understanding the coin and appreciating what makes it different from the rest. Coins like this remind us that value is not only about appearance, but about story, context, and curiosity. They encourage us to slow down and examine objects we usually ignore, turning routine moments into learning experiences. The Monticello nickel has always been a coin of the people, widely used and widely collected. A 1974 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark and with dark black color condition fits perfectly into that tradition of everyday history. It stands as proof that even modern coins can carry intrigue when viewed through a collector's eye. As stories spread and interest grows, certain coins begin to attract attention far beyond their face value. And while most examples remain cherished for their history and uniqueness, there are claims and discussions linking a coin like this to values spoken of as high as $45,000. Next up, the Monticello 5-cent Jefferson nickel from 1941, a classic American coin without a mint mark, showing natural color and preserved in very fine circulated condition. At first glance, this coin may look familiar, even ordinary, yet coins from the early 1940s hold a special weight because they belong to a world standing on the edge of dramatic change. The year 1941 is especially powerful in American history, marking the final moments before the United States entered World War II, and every object from that time quietly reflects the tension, uncertainty, and resilience of the era. Holding a 1941 Jefferson nickel feels like holding a silent witness to history, something that existed before rationing, before wartime production shifted materials, and before daily life changed forever. The Jefferson nickel design itself carries strength and dignity, with Thomas Jefferson's portrait symbolizing leadership, vision, and the foundation of American democracy. Even in very fine condition, the details of Jefferson's profile remain clear enough to appreciate the craftsmanship that went into creating a coin meant for everyday use yet rich in meaning. On the reverse, Monticello stands proudly, Jefferson's historic home, representing intellect, architecture, and enduring legacy, and in very fine condition much of this design remains visible and balanced. Very fine condition tells us that the coin circulated, but not harshly, allowing it to keep strong outlines, readable lettering, and a pleasing overall appearance that collectors admire. The natural color of a circulated nickel adds authenticity, showing honest aging rather than artificial shine, which many experienced collectors consider more desirable. The absence of a mint mark indicates that this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, a detail that collectors immediately recognize as part of the story. Philadelphia minted enormous numbers of coins during this period, supplying currency for a growing nation on the brink of war. Coins without mint marks are sometimes overlooked by beginners, but seasoned collectors understand that absence can be just as meaningful as presence. A 1941 nickel without a mint mark connects directly to the heart of American coin production during a critical historical moment. Imagine this coin passing through hands during the early 40s, perhaps buying bread, newspapers, or a cup of coffee, quietly participating in everyday life before the world changed. Each small mark on the surface represents movement, use, and survival through decades of history. Coin collecting teaches us to see these marks not as flaws, but as evidence of a real journey. This coin likely circulated during a time when coins were essential tools of daily trade, not collectibles, not investments, just reliable money. That reality makes surviving examples feel even more meaningful today. Collectors often feel drawn to pre-war coins because they represent the last chapter of a simpler economic era. Studying a 1941 Jefferson nickel opens a window into American life just before global conflict reshaped priorities and industries. The metal itself, the strike, and the finish all reflect peacetime production standards. Lighting can reveal fine details on the coin's surface, bringing Jefferson's portrait and Monticello's structure into sharper focus. Many collectors enjoy examining such coins under magnification, appreciating design elements often missed at first glance. The Jefferson nickel series is beloved because it spans generations, allowing collectors to trace history through small yearly changes. A 1941 example sits at a particularly meaningful point within that long timeline. For some collectors, owning a coin from this year is about connection rather than rarity. It represents continuity, a physical link to a moment frozen in time. Coins like this often spark curiosity in new collectors, encouraging them to learn about dates, mint marks, and condition. Even experienced collectors pause when handling a coin from such a historically loaded year. The absence of a mint mark, the balanced wear, and the preserved detail all contribute to this coin's appeal. It reminds us that value is not always obvious at first glance. Sometimes it comes from story, timing, and condition working together. Every collector has a moment when an ordinary-looking coin suddenly feels extraordinary. A 1941 Jefferson nickel has the power to create that moment. It invites viewers to slow down and really look at the money they may have ignored for years. Coins like this teach patience, curiosity, and respect for history. They show us that the past still lives quietly among us in everyday objects. And while many people cherish this coin for its historical significance and condition alone, there are claims and discussions that associate a coin like this with a value spoken of as $45,000. Next up, the Monticello 5-cent Jefferson nickel from 1959, a coin without a mint mark, showing natural color and preserved in very fine circulated condition, a piece that may look ordinary at first glance but carries a deeper story waiting to be told. The Jefferson nickel is one of the most familiar coins in American life, yet familiarity often causes people to overlook how much history is hidden inside such a small object, especially when that coin comes from a meaningful year like 1959. 1959 was a period of optimism and change in the United States, a time when the country was growing, modernizing, and looking toward the future while still holding firmly to its traditions. Holding a 1959 nickel feels like holding a quiet reminder of that era, when everyday life was shaped by post-war confidence, expanding suburbs, and a sense of stability that defined much of the late 1950s. The obverse of the coin features Thomas Jefferson, a symbol of leadership and vision, and in very fine condition his portrait remains clear, balanced, and strong, showing careful wear rather than heavy damage. Very fine condition tells us that this coin circulated enough to be part of real daily transactions, yet not so much that its design was lost, making it especially appealing to collectors who value both history and preservation. The natural color of the nickel adds warmth and authenticity, reflecting decades of honest aging rather than artificial shine created by cleaning or polishing. Many experienced collectors prefer this natural look because it confirms that the coin has not been altered and still carries its original surface character. On the reverse, Monticello stands proudly, Jefferson's historic home, and even with gentle where the structure remains recognizable and dignified, representing intellect, heritage, and American craftsmanship. The Monticello design had already become deeply ingrained in American culture by 1959, appearing on coins that passed through millions of hands every single day. A coin without a mint mark from this year indicates it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the heart of United States coin production during that period. Philadelphia minted vast quantities of nickels, supplying a nation that relied heavily on coins for everyday commerce, from grocery stores to public transportation. The absence of a mint mark might seem insignificant to some, but collectors understand that it is an important identifying feature that connects the coin to its place of origin. Coins from the late 1950s are often appreciated because they represent a stable period in American coinage before major design changes and economic shifts took place. This nickel may have been used to buy a soda, pay for a newspaper, or sit in a pocket during countless ordinary moments that together formed everyday life. Each small mark on its surface is a trace of that journey, adding character rather than taking value away in the eyes of many collectors. Coin collecting teaches us to see beauty in use, history in wear, and meaning in details that others ignore. A 1959 Jefferson nickel is not just metal, it is a survivor from a specific moment in time that continues to exist decades later. Lighting can reveal subtle details on the coin's surface, bringing out the contours of Jefferson's face and the architectural lines of Monticello. Many collectors enjoy examining such coins closely, discovering new features each time they look. The Jefferson nickel series is especially popular because it spans generations, allowing collectors to follow American history year by year through a single design. A 1959 example sits comfortably within that long timeline, representing consistency and continuity. Collectors often feel a strong connection to coins from this era because they were used by parents, grandparents, and communities that shaped modern society. Even beginners are often drawn to Jefferson nickels because they are accessible, familiar, and rich in historical context. Searching through old jars or inherited collections can suddenly become exciting when a coin like this appears. That excitement is part of what keeps the hobby alive, the idea that something special might already be within reach. Coins like this encourage people to slow down and look closely at everyday objects. They remind us that history is not always found in museums, but sometimes in pockets and drawers. A very fine condition coin offers a perfect balance between preservation and story, making it enjoyable to both study and display. The absence of a mint mark, the clear date, and the honest wear all come together to define this piece. It stands as a small but meaningful example of mid-20th century American life. As interest grows and stories are shared, certain coins begin to capture attention beyond their face value. And while many collectors treasure this coin for its history and condition alone, there are discussions and claims that associate a Monticello Jefferson nickel like this with a value spoken of as $45,000.